starting to appear in Jones's smooth facade.
He wore country western outfits, bright suits, that sort of thing. Didn't fit into San Francisco. Always dark glasses, inside, outside, any time of day. Always surrounded by this coterie of protectors and kind of interpreters. Every big shot's got sidekicks, aides, that kind of thing. But Jones was by no means in the major leagues.
But despite these early warning signs, the temple was still attracting new members, especially young men and women looking to become politically active. In 1968, 20-year-old Tim Carter, a native of the Bay Area, was just returning from combat in Vietnam.
By the time that I got out of the bush, my politics had been rearranged completely, 180 degrees. I was very political. I was part of the counterculture. It was a movement. It's hard to describe it. It was either you were part of it or you weren't. And I was a part of it. And the Bay Area was probably the focal point for the counterculture.
Upon his return from Vietnam, Tim was quickly immersed in California's hippie culture, living on the streets, hitchhiking up and down the coast, and experimenting with alternative spiritual movements. But he would soon find a new direction, a cause to devote his life to.
So we were doing a meditation, myself and 5 other friends, and all of a sudden I felt this explosion of energy go up my spine from behind. It was just like, bang. And I turned around and I saw this picture. And I said, "Who is that?" She goes, "Oh, that's Papa Jim. He's the most loving man I've ever met in my life." And so I knew that I had to find Jim Jones and People's Temple.
Tim attended his first meeting of the People's Temple in San Francisco.
I walked into the temple and it was the most alive place that I'd been in. I mean, I saw black folks and white folks and teenagers flirting with each other and little kids running around, and I saw white people helping old black seniors, and and there was nothing pretentious about it or phony. It was just a place that was filled with life. But I hadn't even met Jim Jones, and I knew that I'd known those people forever. I was home.
As a member of the counterculture, Carter was already attracted to social activism. Like other cults, the temple used good intentions to draw people in.
At their sort of full crest, the temple was probably 2,000 or 3,000 people. It definitely grew in size when it was located in San Francisco, and they were very active in recruiting.
To a potential recruit, People's Temple was a model organization, and Jim Jones, its loving and spiritual father. But success and power bring scrutiny. Marshall Kilduff, a reporter from the San Francisco Chronicle, was one of the first journalists to begin to examine Jones. At first, Jones's record seemed spotless, a little too spotless.
I think Jones, by and large, had a benign and positive image. I don't think most people knew him real well, but publicly, if you asked any political leader or social leader, they said, yeah, he's a good guy. But here's the interesting thing. As I got more interested in Jones, I would ask some of the same people in a kind of quiet way off the record, and they said, there's something odd about this guy. There was something eerie about this guy, the way he had total mastery over this finger-snap army that he could get to show up anywhere.
The power Jones exerted over his followers didn't escape Marshall Kilduff. His in-depth interviews with ex-members of the cult uncovered disturbing details about life on the inside.
The malignant narcissist has a desire deep down of bringing down other people in a way that they feel brought down. And that leads to extremes.
According to Kilduff's research, people were working inhumane hours, often 7 days a week, on the temple's various programs. At the temple itself, members were forced to confess to fabricated crimes for which they would be given vicious beatings. Ex-members asserted even children were being abused in this way. According to their descriptions, Jones was a classic cult leader, using spirituality to exert power psychologically and sexually over his cult. But were these allegations true?
I thought I knew a lot while I was there, but what I was saying was not what the reality was. Jones using drugs. I didn't know he used drugs back then. The combination of heroin and speed, that's pretty potent stuff. I didn't know that he was having sex with everybody. It's easy to see now, but you don't think that the leader is nuts.
San Francisco isn't the safe haven Jones thought it would be. And as the pressure builds, he is starting to lose control.
He's disturbed.
But exposing the truth about a cult leader can have deadly consequences. By the end of 1977, Jim Jones is feeling heat from the press. Rumors of sexual and physical abuse run rampant, while reporters continue to seize upon the story.
I mean, we have conspiracies to deal with. I could name you 15 different conspiracies. Those who want to break progressive, nonviolent forces working for change within society, they've got a great willingness to be cynical and believe the worst about people. You don't hear much promotion of good things about people, but you sure hear a hell of a lot bad.
Again, feeling persecuted, Jim Jones loads up the buses one last time.
The temple members that I sort of heard from later did get the sense that the temple was kind of on the run, was in a sort of dire situation that needed some sort of correcting. They had to get out of San Francisco.
In 1977, Marshall Kilduff's article appeared in New West magazine, exposing the abuse within People's Temple. But by the time the article is published, the temple was already in the midst of a mass exodus. In a matter of months, almost 1,000 people are relocated to Guyana, South America. After a long flight to the capital of Georgetown, temple members endure a grueling 36-hour trek by boat and jeep. Finally, they arrive at the humble cabins of the People's Temple Agricultural Project, aka Jonestown. Here, in the isolation of deep jungle, Jones believes he can finally have complete control.
Well, for a guy who loved the public limelight and liked to attract new followers, you couldn't square that with Jonestown. But he clearly wanted more total control, a place he could really be all by himself. Maybe that's what he always wanted, create his own world.
Jonestown, 1977. With a young wife and new baby, Tim Carter still hung on to that initial faith he had in the People's Temple. Like some other cult members, he had begun to distrust Jones, but still, he chose to stay. Some members explained this to Marshall Kilduff.
They said we all had joined the temple for a lot of reasons. We wanted a better society, integrated world, a meaningful life, and it was hard to turn back from that idea to sort of say, well, I was wrong, I'm a fool, and now I want to leave.
The cultists' commitment was tested again and again. Residents would be subjected to more public beatings and humiliations. Disobedience was punished with solitary confinement, and some were even put down with sedatives, leaving them in a permanent semi-conscious state. The extreme tactics were justified by Jones's paranoia. He believed they were under siege.
Well, this whole siege mentality was developed by Jones as a way to draw people closer to the temple as it became more cut off, more estranged from the real world. The members were made to feel kind of on edge. The senses were just overloaded. You worked hard, you were given lousy food, you were told your life was endangered. So they were really driven to distraction by a series of these kinds of treatments.
Like all cults, the People's Temple had gone through a metamorphosis. What was supposed to be an oasis of communal living, a socialist paradise of brotherly spirit, had quickly changed into a police state. The hippie commune had become a prison camp. But the transformation of Jonestown was merely a reflection of the change in Jones. The lonely little boy who had become a warm, generous preacher had morphed into a desperate, paranoid dictator.
At the very end, this guy was a drug addict.